Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Supercoach Challenges, and today we're going to have a look at the teams that have been released so far, which is only one, but still good to look at, and also have a look at some players that are being talked about and maybe some potential trade-ins with the way that the rookies are at the moment. It's a little bit hard, and in the buys, this is probably the most important week to set up our teams before next 2 weeks, which are probably going to be the hardest buys. So we're going to have a look at that as well, and then we'll also just look at what I've done to finalizing the trades this week, because I've changed it up a little bit from the review as normally happens throughout the weekend. We'll see what happens. So, looking at the teams, we'll go there quickly. So, only one release so far. So Sydney v St Kilda. But there have been a few interesting drops and not ads. Ads. With McAndrew going out and Warner going out, they're probably the two rookies people may have looked at. I mean, Warner had been playing the sub a lot, so probably not. But McAndrew, I know a lot of people were looking at, or might have even traded in early. And I think if you watched the last game, you would not have been surprised that he got drops, because he was subbed out, and he also looked. I think it's just like he hasn't got enough maybe experience. I think I did hear he started late, maybe like he was late to the game. He just looked a bit lost when he was rucking, and kind of not sure about what he was doing. So I'm not really surprised about that drop. And Sheldrick's come in, 168k, I think, midfielder. I think he's mid forward or something like that. But he could be interesting. I probably wouldn't pick him, to be honest, because Sydney seem to be chopping and changing who they're playing. But I mean, if you've seen more of him and you think something about him, maybe go him. And the other ones with St Kilda are just Windhager and Owens in. So Windhager's 180k, which makes it a little bit hard. He is down in price because he was playing the sub a few times, and he has been ripping up the VFL, which is something interesting to note. And if it was early in the season, he'd probably be actually quite a good rookie to get him, because I think he might be able to stick in the team. He is named in the middle, so that kind of backs up that statement a little bit. As you can see, he's named as follower. But I think he's one we're just going to have to miss out on at this time. I mean, if you're real desperate, you probably could. Maybe possibly. I don't know. It depends on your money situation. I think for both this team and the other team, money's probably a little bit more of an issue in my proper team, which is why I'm not really looking at him. But I think there is an argument to have him, because especially if he's got an on-ball role like it looks like he has, because he's 180k. I was hoping that Bytel would get a game, but I think he did. I think he is coming off like a concussion or something from the VFL, because he's only 113k or something ridiculous. And he could be, if he keeps on the list, which you hope he does, he might be a pick next year. But anyway, looking outside of that, we'll go to the team, and as you can see, I've reversed the trade. So originally we were bringing in Warner and trading out Zeeble, and bringing in somebody else. I can't really remember. But first we'll have a look at the players. So, as we can see, if we go down to the 200k mark, even not just look at players being played, like the players that played last round. So, I mean, Harrison is here, but whether he keeps a spot, I mean, DeGoey is out for 3 games, so that could be good, but he does hit the bye next week. So you can just wait on this, and this could be one after the bye next week, where if he is named again, you go on him. Spicer. So 50 is actually quite a good score, and 150k, so it's not like he's too elevated, but the problem is he has that last bye, which we're not really looking for players in, and kind of the same with Judson Clark, but at a higher score. Thomas Berry, he's obviously low price, but the problem is he gets a game and then he just plays sub, and they have the bye this week anyway, so it's not like you have to try and rush him in. But he could be one maybe we downgrade if there is anything that changes, but I don't see it. He's too sporadic. He seems to be like that 23rd player for the Gold Coast at the moment. Bailey McDonald, so he must have only got a game because Sicily was out. If he gets a game this week, actually Sicily and Mitchell are out. Forgot that Mitchell was laid out, so that's probably why he got a game. But if he got another game and then we could hit his buy and then he gets a game off the buy, he could be an interesting downgrade option as well. But I just don't think he would keep his spot if they've got a full team. This James O'Donnell's actually played a few games now, and the Dogs don't look like dropping him for some reason. Must be like a bit of a favourite for Bevo or something like that, but his scoring's outrageously bad. He's got a 5-round average of 25.3, or well, even the 3 rounds, 26. So you're not getting much money out of this guy. He started at 102k, has gone up 12 in 4 games, so it does tell you a lot about him. And otherwise, there's not much here. I mean, Fahey would be nice, but bad buy, and the same with Sin. Like, a lot of these players just have the bad buy. And even in like the case of Fahey, like if he does play this week and next week, there's a potential he doesn't go up that much, especially if he can stay like 48 break even. If he stays as the sub again, he could go down in money, and then it's possibly one you roll into off the round 15 buy. But yeah, otherwise, this kind of points out the fact that there isn't really any good options to downgrade to this week. Even like Mullen, you wouldn't do it this week, you do it next week, and it'd only be if he's named. But they, like, Geelong have a lot of players coming back. If we look at their team, you know, they got guys like Bruin, Nevitt, and stuff playing as well. But Nevitt played really well last week, and I don't know if they're going to ever. I think that Bruin could be the one that misses out for danger. And then Mullen could be moved around for like a Duncan when he comes back. But I don't know how far Duncan is actually off the team. So that could be interesting. So with this happening, a lot of people have been going to those elevated players a little bit to have a look and see if like elevated is in, you know, probably underpriced due to whether it's been injury or being played as a sub or stuff like that. So I think some interesting ones to look at. Obviously, if you didn't get on Kieran Briggs last week, like we didn't get on Kieran Briggs, I was worried about trades, and I still think that was probably relevant for this team. And it sucks to miss him because he probably could have just played cover until Darcy gets back. But looking at the injuries, Darcy said round 14 to 15, so we could only be going maybe one more round without Darcy, so that's quite good. But yeah, it was still nevertheless would have been a good money play to then flipped easily to a player. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. I think I probably didn't watch enough of Briggs, to be honest. You know, I always just kind of saw like the fact that Flynn and Bruce were kind of getting picked above him meant that he wasn't quite there, but he's really shown GWS that he should be the preferred ruckman, and could give them a few things they could trade next year, GWS, because I think ruckmans are a little bit in short supply. Like you look at Collingwood and stuff like that. I think they would love a guy like Matty Flynn. And if GWS are happy with Briggs, they probably should just keep him and get some trade value. I actually think that Elliot Yeo, although, yeah, the injury obviously is an issue, and this is the high risk, high reward, like very, very high risk, but you can see actually 1.7% have traded him in. Now he has the round 14 buy, so you really need to, you know, have players have to have a look at your next buy and be like, all right, I can actually get a player in on this, and it might help you because a lot of people do have round 15 players. But if you have a look, 6 break even, and he was so good last week. He like really tore the game open for them against Collingwood, got them back in the game. And you know, he hasn't played a lot of the seasons, which could suggest to you that they did actually spend a lot of time getting his body right. Like he did come back, but then he was injured again. So he came back in round 4, but then injured, or played another game, then got injured. So he's had an extended break. If he gets through this week, he's a low break even. He could go up 50k very easily. I think that Adelaide's a team that he could score well against. If we look at, because I think CBAs is probably a defining factor here. You know, Yo got 53% CBAs last week, and I think they might start playing him there more because, oh no, it wasn't Elliot Yo. Sorry, he got 67. So he's had 68 and 67. And with that probably comes the fact he'll probably get a defensive mid-roll. Like if we look in those first 2 games, he got 0 in the round 4 and 5 in the 22, and now he's going 68 and 67. and when he was in there, he turned it for Collingwood. And I feel like this is the high risk, high reward play. And you know what? You could easily trade a Sheasel or a Zeeble to this guy and have him outscore them by 30 to 40 points a week, and make what 100k in the case of Sheasel, and maybe even 170k in the case of or 160k in the case of Zeeble. So just one to keep in the back of your mind for this week, because I think, like, if you took out the injury proneness of him, he's probably definitely, like, if he went no injuries for these players that we're going to talk about, he's probably the one with a price that you'd probably say is the best. I mean, I say that, but then the next guy we talk about is actually very low priced and has been a very high scorer previous years. But I just think that, look, he's gone 73, 125. If he can keep fit, West Coast actually have a decent run the next three. Brisbane's at the Gabba, so it's a bit of a hard one. But then Richmond, Carlton, North, Essendon, you know, like this is a fairly decent run. Like Fremantle and Western Bulldogs are going to be hard, but then Adelaide could be quite easy at home. So, yeah, high risk, high reward. You know, if it was early in the season, probably worth it. Now it's pretty hard, but anyway, as you can see, if we have a look here, 1.7% have traded him in, and that's higher than probably my preferred trade in based on injury stat, like injury ability. He's probably got better scoring potential than my number one, and that's arguable because when the number one has had midfield time, he does score higher. But on the likelihood of him keeping the role, Yo definitely probably keeps it over this the number one player, I'd probably say, out of these picks. Now, Will Phillips is very annoying. The fact that a lot of people were forced to, weren't forced, but they did trade out of him after he wasn't even named in the team for round one. Thanks, Clarko. You know, if you think about the way that Clarko set up that team, he really did sell us into a bit of a pickle now, because Zeeble and Sheasel were both playing differently because Brighton's in, and we all bought them in and thought they were going to be keepers, and now that question is really being thrown up in the air. And he didn't play Phillips, who was 160k, who'd everyone had been saying been tearing up preseason, and is now showing that potential, and he looks to be going to get a very nice midfield role. North lost Simpkin to a concussion, and Greenwood to I believe a knee injury, maybe, I'm not sure, but like that's two guys in their midfield, and accordingly, when Phillips, Sheasel, and Wardlaw were playing in the middle, they looked really, really nice, North, and it really got them back in the game against Essendon. So you'd think they're going to keep playing him, and he just looks like he's going to score really well. Like, even when he wasn't like a favoured player, he was still scoring quite decently, and now he's getting that midfield role, 99 and 116. You'd be very happy if he'd kept him, or even went with him. So another one. What's Taylor Adams actually been going like? I think the problem also with Phillips is that round 15 bye. Now, Taylor Adams could get an increased role in the midfield. The problem is like, other than last week, and that was against West Coast, like his scoring hasn't been great. A 1 of 10 against Port, but I mean, De Goey's not playing, so that could mean a CBA increase. But yeah, the problem is he hasn't played well previously to that. Jeremy Cameron's another pick that people are thinking about. He's actually in 13% of teams, which you might think is a bit interesting, but I think that a lot of people have looked at what he is able to do. If we look at the Carlton and Hawthorn game, 149, 156, even West Coast 119, and I believe they have North and a few others. They have a lot of GMS games coming up, and yeah, they have North there as well, so it could be some high scoring. I don't know, I just don't like key forwards. I know Jezza can get up the field, but probably be a wait and see for me. And also, he doesn't play this week, so you can kind of wait on that. Now, my number one trade in this week is Benny Keys, and the reason being is that it looks like he's been shifted back into the midfield. It looks like the Crows have decided, watching them, that it's good. It's kind of like that last spot in the midfield. They're really unsure about who to kind of put there. I think that Saligo's played through there quite a bit, um, but they just seem to not trust him 100%. And then Sloan has also played in there, and Sloan does well, but he is also old. So I think it's like kind of like Keys is like 26, really fit, and has shown in previous seasons that he can score really well playing in the midfield, even as a tagger, because he just tackles um, so much. He's had a season where he's averaged 106. He's probably one of the guys you've got the least injury, like, and I say this like touch wood, but he hasn't had many issues with injuries, not like Yo and some others we'll talk about. And he can run all day. If the role assists, he will score well. And you kind of have to go on this late. It's kind of a choice between Yo and Keys. I guess Keys has that mid forward role, which is kind of good. But yeah, Yo is probably going to get defender midfielder, which actually could be useful as well. They both have really low break evens. They both play each other. As you can see, West Coast are 18 and 18 for forward and midfielders scoring. So yeah, Keys could go really big, and if he does 400k, I think the trade becomes less valuable at that point. Darcy Cameron, yeah, definitely target after his buy. I think even if he goes 130, what you're paying probably just above, like probably 480ish, and I think that's perfectly fine for Cameron. So I think you can wait this week and then get him after his buy. Harry Himmelberg. So I think what I'm hoping is that Keys will be the Harry Himmelberg of last year. Now, if we have a look at Himmelberg's score last year against North, he had 187, and it was really what everyone went, oh, like you have to pay attention to this guy. And he had the role change, went into, I think he played back the week before and scored like a 130. And then he went and had this 180, and everyone was like, all right, let's get him in. I think he was like 200k. And I was like, yeah, let's get him in. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it was on 126. They had their buy, and then he came back and went bang against North. And he already went up money here. And even at 435, people were just paying it. And he then went on to have, average over 100, probably like 110 for the rest of the year. It's like pretty unreal. But this year it's kind of hard because he looks like he started to get that roll back, but I just don't know if it sticks. Like, actually, we've only got 1 week of data on that, so kind of one you have to wait on. He's only got a 78 break even, and the problem is if you wait after this week, he's got that last buy as well. So then you kind of have to wait another week, and if he goes 100 again, his break even is going to be probably pretty low for that last game, and probably one we just kind of have to miss on. What are some other choices? I think that Joel Jeffrey is actually an interesting pick. So if we look at the week before, the 55 wasn't great, but the 96 was quite nice, and he did get that role playing out the back line as a sort of cut-off running defender, which does score generally pretty well. I guess the Crows kind of did waste the ball a little bit. If this was the start of the buys, round 12, it'd probably be worth bringing in like 15k goes, a 270, 285 player, because you'd get those extra games out of him, and probably cover you for the buys, and he could probably be that F7 if he kept the role. But I don't know if it's going to stick, and it would be nice, but I think that probably, unless you're going to go for an Uber pod, he's in 117 teams. But I just thought it was interesting. He scored quite well. Annoyingly, Taron Thomas is going to fuck us all for next year, because he would have been nice to have the next year to pick up as probably like a 200k rookie, but no, he's come back and he's come with a 90, so he's probably going to go up to 400 by the end of the year and not even be worth a shot. So we just got to hope that they get blitzed a bit and he doesn't really get a chance to score well, and maybe go backwards. But this is a guy we were looking at the start of the year, and if you could have taken 90s, you probably would have. I mean, he could get midfield time now as well with Simpkin and Simpkin and Greenwood out. Let's have. Did he get any on the weekend? Yeah, he did. He got 51% CBAs on the weekend, so it kind of shows you that they were they did move him in there once Simpkin was injured. And it looks like the 1, 2, 3 could be Phillips, Wardlaw, why is Shields in there? I guess they were that was just the tag on Merritt because he was destroying them. I don't know where their studying for that went, but anyway, like that should have definitely been looked at. But Sheasel got 6. So yeah, I think he would have been really nice to have at the start of the year, but now we kind of just have to miss him. And then so the last guy here didn't play last week, and is the one if you really want to maximize your cash and maybe take him now and then hold him as an MAF. What is it? M9F7. Yeah, sorry, bloody brain freeze just then. Yeah, M9F7. Yeah, you could definitely go this bloke, and it is too far down, so I'm gonna go bugger that. I'm gonna go for it with Nathan Fyfe. Yes, the ex Brown. Oh, it's Nat Fyfe, isn't it? Yeah, the ex Brownlow medalist. He's come back, got his CBAs up, 26 break even, hasn't scored above that at all, except for the last 2 weeks. Sorry, so he has actually scored above that. I'd take that back. CBAs are starting to pump up, and he's got Richmond next week, which just seems like a great matchup for him to play well again. I mean, like we can't take these into account because these were late last year when he was coming off the injury and probably playing as a more of that forward sub role they try to play him in. So what really pushes me on the fact that this could be a little bit real is the fact that Fyfe re-signed with Fremantle this year, and it kind of just it says to you there's a bit of trust there. Like I wouldn't be signing it. I think he's only 31, but why would you be signing Fyfe to a 2-year deal anyway? Surely you go year to year, because his body has been failing him a little lately. And it just seems like funny timing that they've come off the bye. His CBAs have gone up. You think he's getting fit, and you think he's going to get a role in there, and you just think that maybe things are turning around. And if you need the money and you go on like a Zeeble, like this is a 270k play, and that could be a trade down to a trade up, and this could kind of hold. You know, if he does get back to maybe even not an 90% of his best, 80% of his best, even 70%, he's probably good enough for like your F6. So, you know, he's got the history here. Look at the 2020, 166. Wouldn't you love that? Average of 113. 2021 was an average of 100. So this is where he kind of went downhill a little bit. But like 2019, 120, you know, yes, he hasn't always been hugely conducive to scoring, but you could do a lot worse at 200k. And, you know, Richmond GWS Essendon seems to be a pretty decent start. But you could wait. I mean, the 26, but if he goes 100 and something, he's probably 280. Still fairly decent, to be honest. And he's already had his bye, which is another good thing. So, the only problem is if he gets injured again, because that has been an issue for him. But hopefully not for Fyfe, because he's such a gun, and it's really sad to see players like we had it with Gary Ablett. If Ablett had never done that shoulder, it's crazy to think. I was looking at his scores the other day, and he had years where he averaged like 140 in Supercoach. Like that is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And you think, man, it would have been what he could have done if he didn't go to Gold Coast, like Brownlow wise. He could have probably won 3 or 4 Brownlows, to be honest. But anyway, that's enough of Gaz talk. And yeah, that's about it for those, you know, downgrades you could do. Free up some cash from Zeeble and Sheasel, or even Will Day, if you're looking at moving on Will Day. and even Cogs. If you've got Cornelio and he's probably more of an issue, or you're thinking more of an issue, you could even move him down. So, in ordering those four, I would probably say Zeeble because of the break even. Who was it? Yeah, Sheezel, because I'm not really sure about his position, but if he starts getting midfield time, he could actually score really well, and they might want to try it out after the Essendon game. Then Cogs, and then Day, because I think Day's disposal count has just been up there. Cogs and Day interchangeable. I'd probably keep Cogs just because he's got the history, and Day could still drop off yet. And if you are still watching the video, give us a like, and if you could hit a subscribe, that would be wonderful. Obviously means a lot for you to give us a like and subscribe. Really helps me know that this information is valuable to you and something that you're taking something out of. Now, onto the trades, and so originally we went Warner and I think it was Chandler and someone out. Can't remember now. Chandler and someone for Chandler and Zeeble for like Warner and Steele. I believe that was the trades. And since then I've changed it up with having a look, have a listen to some other people as well, and that always helps out. And some good points were raised, and I think, while not optimal, this kind of opens up some avenues to kind of finish team, because I'm thinking that maybe guys like Day, Vaughan Francis, Warple, we might just hold them as long as we can. Even Humphrey. I mean, if they keep scoring 90s, I mean, you're going to lose points, but we're not fighting the top end. We're wanting to get to that 50k mark. Top 100 is going to be nice, but I think we can make 50k. There's still we're only at the halfway mark now, so there's still 12 rounds left. We can do it. So let's keep positive. And with that, let's go for the trade. So I think Zeeble needs to go. He's 33. Oh, very old. Maybe not 33, but he's old. Body's starting to fall apart. Ratton, if we look at when the scores have changed, right? So let's just do a quick look at Zeebs. So, right. Everyone's talking about Hall, but I don't necessarily think Hall is the total issue with Zeebs, because Hall came back. If we look at Hall, what rounds did Hall play? So Hall played round 6, 7, 10, 11, and 12, right? So Zeeble, round 6, 111. So this Hall played and Zeeble still went 100. Round 7, Hall played. Zeeble went 100. Round 10, Hall played 88. So the score started lowering. But when did Clarko leave? So I believe Clarko left. Break from football. I don't know how I'm going to get this. 18th of May 2023. Must be an 18th of May. And when was round 10? Round 10 AFL. That would have been around that time, wouldn't it? Let's go around 10. Yeah. So this is where he steps away, right? He steps away this week, round 10, right? And what happens here? Zeeble's scores drop off. And if you'd been smart, you would have gone, all right, something smells bad. But I think now, 88, 71, you go, all right, these are below average, but, he could come back. And then he puts a 59 out against Essendon at Marvel. There's 3 Marvel games in a row there. Now, GWS is a good matchup, but the rest of this isn't great. I mean, it is good because they'll be getting a lot of kicks in, but he plays Essendon again as well. So if he got a 59 then, what does it mean now? Now, I do realize that this 59 was affected by some kickouts, some out of bounds kicks. Hall could be injured, but I just think that, it's not just Hall affecting this. When Hall played those 2 rounds when Clarko was coaching, Zeeble still scored over 100 both times. 100, on 100 and over 100. And it seems more like the issue that the game plans changed. And with that, I think that if you don't trade him this week, like he's going down money. He's not going to hit 172. Like this game against St Kilda was ridiculous. They just bloody kicked it around the whole time. You know, I don't think he's ever going to get that. So I think that Zeeble needs to go because I'm happy taking the stab on Sheezel, and maybe him like moving into like working into a role. And I think that Zeeble looks old, and I just think I'm not going to lose sleep over him not being in the team, right? And then with that, Zeeble will go. I'm going to go Chandler as well because we might as well get some of these round 14 players out. And considering that, you know, round 15, round 14 are the issues, I'm going to get rid of Baker as well because we might as well go early on this one. Mostly because what we're going to do is we're then going to bring in. So originally we were bringing Warner, but we're going to bring in a cheaper option in Jake Lloyd. And the Jake Lloyd is a bit of a pod here. So 8% of teams owned, 91 break even. So you could wait. But St Kilda have been notorious 17th against defenders. And we know that Lloyd loves a seagull. And we know that Sydney are now letting Lloyd distribute a bit more. And I just feel like that, you know, he could go quite a decent score this week. And even then, like, if we can get, you know, this is like 100. What's he averaging? Like 105? You know, if you probably take the 105 at this point. Is it 102.5? You probably take that. So I think that's all right. I mean, the last two plays we're probably going to work in here are probably Sicily and Dawson. And taking Lloyd helps us with our buy. It's a bit different and it's a bit fun. Like Jakey Lloyd, we love Jake Lloyd. He's been such a good player over the years, and I think it's time we give him the respect and bring him back in. Now, the next one is one we had in the last trades was Steele, and we also saved 30, 40k on this trade as well. And the next one is Steele. So I think that the good thing about Steele is his run. They've got a really nice run, and I think they're going to want to push for finals. He's got Sydney, Richmond, who are bad against mids. Brisbane at Marvel shouldn't be too bad. Then West Coast, Melbourne at Marvel, who have let mids score. Gold Coast, North, Hawthorn. Like, this is a nice run. There's probably even Geelong's at Marvel again. Probably only that last game's bad. He's got a nice run of 5 games in a row at Marvel and 6, 7. So 7 of his last 1, 2, 3, 4. So 7 of his last 12 are at Marvels. And it's with a run of 5 on the way home. So I think that this is quite nice. And then the last pick is Keys. We're going Keys. We're going to back him in. This gets us money in. This is only a 40k change. We're going to keep him. And we're gonna hope he keeps this role. Let's optimize this a little bit. All right. And now we look at this team. Look at the midfield. The midfield's, you know, these two come down here. Bang, bang. And we probably try and get Dunkley in here. And we might just keep Horne-Francis for a bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. As far as Ruts goes, as I was saying, Darcy is probably going to be back around 14 to 15. So that's good. We can keep Ryan to his last bye and just keep playing on that. And then otherwise, it's like Humphrey we could keep as well. So that kind of fixes, like, Humphrey's going to come in here, fix up Davey. So then it's only like 4, or we can loop him and Ford because I think Davey might get a game. And then next week we can trade out Weddle and Day. Stewart will be back. So what that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So potentially really only 4 players left to trade. Probably 5. Leaves us 5 trades left at the end, which we could probably decide to use on maybe a Warpool. Warpool, Sheezel could in the end go. And then bringing in guys like Darcy Cameron, stuff like that, because we want to get Dunkley, and really just kind of enjoy the fact that we'll have a few more trades and hopefully not have to use them on players. We'll have, so what's that? 4 upgrades. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, 4, well, 4 really, because Humphrey's going to come on. Maybe 5. We got 1.2 mil, which means we've got about 300 to 250k a player, which should be plenty because guys like Humphrey and Horne-Francis or sorry, Humphrey and Weddle and stuff aren't going to cost that much. Maybe 1 downgrade keeps us with 4 trades, and then we can kind of see from there how we want to play it, whether we want to bring in guys like Fife, because we could do a straight swap to Fife, make some money off that, have him as a kind of backup player at the end, and see what happens. I think it's fun. I mean, and that was what I said with this team. I didn't want to. The whole purpose of creating this challenge was to have a different team and something that looks different. Now, obviously, it wasn't very competitive because of how hard we made it for ourselves, with like having to choose regarding only 1 player a week, upgrades, etc. And just checking Dawson, so we won't lose too much money on Dawson. We can get him below probably 600 this week, in round 15. But yeah, it's just kind of doing something different. And guys like Lloyd, even Brayshaw's got a little bit of a pod. We still got some of the main players. Witz is a pod, I'm pretty sure. I think he's under 10% held. Well, that's a bit of a pod. Darcy's definitely under 10. Darcy's like going to be an uber pod, like, and this could be where we catch up some points. So Keys is a pod. We're going to do it. We're going to see how it goes. End of the day, it's all a bit of fun. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, this has been a long video, I know. I was like, oh, I'll do like 15 to 20, but it always goes out to 35. So I just like to ramble. But looking at VC captain options, because I didn't talk about this last week, and I'd like to now. So I think I'm going to VC Neil. I think that there's a possibility that Hawthorn don't tag Neil and they go to Dunkley instead, because Dunkley's been on fire and Neil's a bit older and Dunkley is a bit bigger. And then for the captain, I would like Merritt, to be honest, but he is not in my team, which I just realized. So I might go with the captain on Laird, which means I'm going to have to keep an eye on it, but that will be fine. Other options are, yeah, obviously, like if we go down my here, St Kilda. If you want to do something different, you could do Steele, but I wouldn't expect too much. Bulldog, Spont, but I think he's been holding his knee a little bit, so and Porter playing quite well. You could obviously go Rosie or Butters here as well, because they're that high ceiling. So I could even do that maybe as potential. Actually, maybe I'll captain Brayshaw. I think I'll captain Brayshaw against Richmond. I like that. Yeah, and then yeah, obviously Laird, Dawson, West Coast. This is Texas 250th, so expect big things from those Crows boys. Brayshaw, captain Sarong if you have him, and then you've got obviously Neil. Dunkley could actually go really well against Hawthorn. Looking at the North GWS game, I don't think there's much there you really want to look at. Essendon, obviously Merritt, and then the Melbourne Collingwood game, Petrarca could be your late captain, or even Dacos, because as we know, they do let midfielders score, and with De Goey out, it probably means he plays a bit of midfield. And yeah, that's I think most of them covered. Clary also, if he gets back. The news coming out about Clary, by the way, is that he has been in the hospital with this infection now, so he might not even play this week. There's a possibility you don't get Clary till after the buys, which would be disastrous for those that held him. And I was kind of hoping he'd play this week because he has a high break even and lose some money so that he could be a possibility to get after his buy. But anyway, that's all up to the footy gods. That's it for the video tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you for the next video, probably the review. I don't know if I'll do a team lineup video. As I said earlier in the video, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.